Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mr. Hicks Podcast. We are here getting it in once again, time and time again. Good to be back, y'all. To let you know, I've been putting a lot of work into the JOB. I got a lot of good things going on in my life right now. I'm feeling good. My writing's going well. I just had to step back and take care of some family business and stuff, but, on track. I'm focused. I'm feeling good. Let's go. So I wanted to weigh in on this Lamar Jackson situation. I know this is a very big thing within the football community right now, where people are saying, he deserves his money. Y'all should pay him. He has had MVP seasons. He's been very exciting. He's like the face of the franchise for Baltimore. Why would you not pay him? Well, I think there's a few reasons why you should not pay him. First of all, I try to take the emotion out of it when you're looking at business. I know that's very hard for some people because we're fans. We're fans of certain players. We're fans of certain teams. We tend to line up on one side, and we are really not rational when we look at these things. And I really believe, number one, Lamar's camp is not being rational. My biggest problem with this is his mother is representing him in negotiation. You can love your family. You take care of your family. You should not put your family in a situation where they are filling a role where they are not qualified to assist you. That's only going to hurt you. I know you trust your mom, but you know what? I wouldn't even trust my mom to cut my hair, and I don't even have any hair. You understand me? Like, you're not qualified to do that. I love you. No. Mama, go sit down. Like, some of y'all really need to learn to do that. See, like, people that you love are good people and nice people, sometimes not even that, but that doesn't mean that they're qualified to give you advice on things. Sometimes you need to tell people to shut up, and that's not your business, and you're not going to do that. Well, Lamar is not doing that, and his mother is doing his negotiation. So if you're at this level of athlete and you have the opportunity to get this type of generational money, and you're sending an amateur in to negotiate your contract, you're not very smart. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. Just because you like somebody and they're entertaining you and they're part of your team does not mean that they are intelligent, nice, good, or intelligent people. It just does not mean that. There's kind of a halo effect there where you're somebody that you enjoy watching and rooting for. You just automatically think they're intelligent. Doesn't mean that. This is a really dumb move on his part. So he wants Deshaun Watson. He wants the Deshaun Watson contract. He wants better than the Deshaun Watson contract. Now, for those of you who don't know, Deshaun Watson, I believe Deshaun Watson is, 5 years, $230 million, and it's fully guaranteed. The problem with fully guaranteed is the NFL has never been big on fully guaranteed contracts. Other sports have it, and it gives you an entirely different set of problems. I understand that some people think that should be a normal thing, but look at what happens when a team makes a bad decision as to who to give a contract to. Now you're stuck with that contract and nobody wants it. Now you're stuck with a player who can't play or doesn't want to be there. And then you can't trade that player because nobody wants to take on that player's attitude or that player's contract, or honestly, both. That happens quite a bit in basketball. So if you look at guaranteed money, most players are not getting a lot of guaranteed money. Like, honestly, okay, so Aaron Rodgers is getting quite a bit of his. Aaron Rodgers is right now on a 4-year deal, $200 million. 150 of that is guaranteed, so he's getting 75 guaranteed. Russell Wilson, this nonsensical mess here, he's got a 5-year, $248 million, and he's got $161 million in guaranteed. So he's only 64% guaranteed. Kyler Murray, for some reason, he set the market a few years ago at 5 years and $230 million with $189 million guaranteed salary. That is 82%. Deshaun Watson is the only one of these quarterbacks. And yes, he has probably accomplished, while he's very dynamic, hasn't accomplished a whole lot with his team or individually. No MVPs, no championships, no playoff wins. But his deal is fully guaranteed. And then Patrick Mahomes, the most successful, most MVPs, most Super Bowl wins of the quarterbacks on this list. He's 10 years, $450 million. I mean, he got his deal a couple years ago. It's only $63 million guaranteed, so only 14% of his contract is fully guaranteed. You know what the difference is? One of these is a good franchise, and the other one is not. The others are not. You're talking about the Green Bay is just desperate for Aaron Rodgers. I thought it was stupid when they did it. They're not a bad franchise, but it was definitely a bad decision. Russell Wilson, Denver, bad franchise. It has not historically bad, but recently bad, definitely over the last 10 years. Kyler Murray in the Arizona, bad franchise. Patrick Mahomes and the Browns, I would say Patrick Mahomes, good franchise. Browns, bad franchise. Stupid people pick stupid people who then make bad contracts. They make bad decisions. So, the rest of the league is going, we don't want to follow in the bad mistake that the Browns made. Because somebody did something stupid, that does not have to reset the market. You don't have to agree with that when somebody's mommy goes, well, that guy got 230 guaranteed. My kid should get 230. This is like mommy. This is like daddy ball. It's like, well, that kid got that, so my kid should get that. Am I oversimplifying? Absolutely. But you know what's also really simple? Letting your mom negotiate your contract. So if you're going to do that, I'm going to do this. So moving along. All right. Mom negotiating a contract, grow up. No experience and no connections. There's another reason why you don't want to have your individual, somebody that you love in your family. They're not going to be objective. They're going to think, this is my brother, this is my son, and I'm going to get the best for him. And they're going to take anything like negotiating tactics, probably take that personally instead of taking it objectively as they would if they were actually a professional. Also, you don't have experience of a bunch of different ways to do contracts. People who do a lot of contracts and agents, a lot of them are lawyers or have been lawyers, and they just are no longer practicing that particular kind of law. But they've got the experience with the contract law, or you were with like a CAA who has a legal division who can help you craft different provisions within a contract. If you don't have, where are you going to learn how to do this stuff in order to get your client, child, kid, whatever, a good contract? Give me what I want. It doesn't make any sense to me. So right now, what the Baltimore's done is they put the non-exclusive franchise tag on Deshaun Watson. What that means is he can now go out and try to get a contract from other teams, and if they have the right to match. So if, let's say, the Raiders offer him $260 million over 6 years, over 5 years, and they want to guarantee like 90% of it, Baltimore can come in and say, okay, the market dictates that we have to give you at least 90% of it guaranteed. And if they decide they want to do that, they have the right to match, and then the Baltimore will get back 2 picks from the Raiders, 2 first-round picks. That's the deal with the non-exclusive tag. So lets the market set. So if you got somebody negotiating and they just don't think that, they just won't come off of their number. Like if you were selling a house and you're off like $400,000. Well, I want $400,000 for your house. Well, you're emotional and it's your house and you want as much money as you can get. Totally understand that. However, if you got your house out there for $400 million and nobody shows up at 400 or 400,000 and nobody shows up for it, you have to drop your price eventually, or you're just sitting there with a house that can't sell. Likewise, if you're out here talking about, I want $250 million, I want it fully guaranteed, and nobody comes up with it, well, then you're not going to be, your client is not going to be playing football next year because you don't want to play under the franchise tag or what have you. I'm sorry, playing 1 year of football for $50 million is a slap in the face to you. Slap these nuts. Go home. Who cares? So right after this happened, a bunch of teams came out and said, we're not interested. Now, I don't think that means that they're not interested in Lamar Jackson. I think that means that they're not interested in the deal he wants. Like they have no interest in setting another precedent, like continuing that trend of fully guaranteeing contracts, especially for a running quarterback. It's just, chances are he's going to get hurt down the road. Running quarterbacks don't get more healthy and they don't get faster as they get older. They get slower. And if you don't feel like he's developing as a passer, then and changing and transitioning from being a running quarterback to a throwing quarterback, that means he's going to be getting older. He's going to be getting slower as that contract continues. And then it's fully guaranteed. Once he's shot, he's shot. Once he's hurt, he's a great deal of your salary cap. And well, I want to get into that a little bit later. But so once he gets hurt, he's taking so much of your team with him and so much of your salary cap with him. Does it make sense for you to do? So there are some teams that I think, yes, it absolutely does. If you're the Texans, you have nothing to lose. You have Atlanta, you have nothing to lose. If you're Washington, you definitely have nothing to lose. If I was one of those three teams, I would absolutely be trying to pursue Lamar Jackson. I think it's a matter of the point where it's like it's getting close to they want to get further closer to the draft and see what kind of compensation they can deal with before the draft. I mean, the compensation is pretty much done, but they have until, I want to say, June or July to continue to negotiate the contract even under the franchise tag. So this deal doesn't have to get done right away. For the Texans, if you want to make the move, you kind of do need to decide that because they have the number 2 pick in the draft this year. So if they're going to go after Deshaun Watson, they don't need to take C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young in this upcoming NFL draft. So if they're going to make a move, they do kind of have to make a choice. So it's not just the fact that you're going to have to pay him a lot of money. I don't think people have a problem paying him a lot of money. It's the problem is that you have to give the 2 first-round picks, and you have to pay him $50 million a year. And for those of you who are not paying attention, they changed their entire offense and built a whole offense around the way he plays. So you're talking about not winning for a few years if you're a bad franchise because you just don't have the pieces around him. And now you're going to be putting $50 million a year of your salary cap into this individual. That means that there's a lot of other players you now can't pay. This is a salary cap league. So, maybe you have one wide receiver and maybe you get lucky and you have to get lucky on like draft picks because you're not going to be able to bring in a lot of free agents because you're paying your quarterback that much. It's just, honestly, what Kansas City did last year should be considered magic. To let go of Tyreek Hill and still win a Super Bowl in the same year is unbelievable. Is there collusion? So the fact that a bunch of teams came out and were like, oh, we don't want him. Was there collusion? Probably, but not in the way that I think people are saying. I don't think a bunch of coaches, a bunch of presidents all got together and said, nobody pay him, all right? I'm not going to pay him, you're not going to pay him, all right? I don't think they're really doing that. I think they're just kind of all in on the idea that we don't want to give guaranteed contracts. And I think they've always been all in on that. So I don't think there's collusion in this particular instance. I think that's something that all NFL owners have kind of tried to do. And I think the Browns and their loose cannon of an owner broke ranks and gave out a fully guaranteed contract. And the rest of them looking at this like, this mother... we've been trying to hold this down together for the entire time that this league's been in existence. And you come along and then you set this precedent. And now every single agent and representative from the NFLPA is going to try to get a guaranteed contract for their client because you went ahead and gave the serial finger blaster over there, Deshaun Watson. You gave him a fully guaranteed contract. And now everybody's going to be looking for us to give their guy a fully guaranteed contract. Do understand that nobody wants to do that. So in that case, is there collusion? Probably. But I don't think it's collusion in the way that you think. And the other way is, how the hell are you going to prove it? So even if there is collusion, nothing you can do. Let's move on about it. Okay, so the biggest risk I'm seeing is just injury history. So I'm looking at his stats, and I'm seeing, of course, yes, he has the MVP season. And yes, he's exciting. And yes, he is an absolute problem to stop. And yes, he absolutely makes the Baltimore football engine go. No doubt about any of those things. I'm conceding all of that. My biggest problem is the last 2 seasons, he's only played 12 games. The 2 seasons before that, he only played 15. His QBR has gone down every single year since that MVP year. So he went down from, not down every year, but it's gone from where it was at its peak to pretty bad in a time when he really should be coming into his own and playing his best football. When you're that good of a player or that level of player, but by the time you're 27, 28 years old, you should be in your prime of your football ability, meaning your physical peak and your mental peak. Well, not your mental peak, but your ability to audible, your ability to read defenses, your ability to slide, stay in the pocket, run the offense. All of those things should be reaching the peak of your powers, because at a certain point, your physical abilities are going to decline. So your mental abilities have to raise so that you can extend that period where your physical and mental abilities are in this sweet spot where you should be able to try to win championships. I don't see that development as a passer. And if you look at the statistics, that's what I'm saying. Have I watched every Baltimore game? No, I'm an Eagles fan, so I can't say that I've seen every single Baltimore game. What I will say is his QBR has gone down from 83, 67, then 56, and then last season a little up to 59. He's always had a bit of an interception thing, and if you look at somebody like the new gunslingers, your Josh Allen, your Joe Burrows, and stuff like that, the young guys coming up. They're sitting in the pocket more. Can they run a little bit? Yes, they can, but they're not primarily running. And if you're going to be somebody, I think that organizations want to invest in long term, they don't want you running around primarily. And even if you look at what's happened with Jalen Hurts has developed a lot over the last year or two, very quickly, I add. Into more of a passer than a runner. Does he still run? Yes, he does. But I think you're at least looking at a 50-50, 60-40 type of deal where he's trying to sit in the pocket primarily. Do they have like they got the Hurts push, and do they run him and will he take off sometimes? Yeah, but then he got wrecked in that Chicago game and missed 2 games this year. So that's kind of what I mean. It's like, no matter how tough of a quarterback and how fast your quarterback are, you look at the draft, these defenders are getting real fast. Where you got like linebackers coming in at 4.4, that's a problem. Like, no matter how fast you are, whatever, you can't see everything, you can't be everywhere, and their entire job is to smack you around. Chances are you getting hurt are pretty good. And Deshaun Watson, I keep saying Deshaun Watson, and Lamar Jackson has been hurt the last 2 years. Chances are is that's going to continue. If Baltimore pays him, they're going to have less money for depth. They're going to have less money for bringing in stars. And they'll have weapons to put around him. And if he gets hurt, that's going to be it. I totally understand when people are saying, like, well, that's kind of true of every organization. It's like, true. But because he is so unique a player in what he does and the level he does it at, he's kind of irreplaceable if he gets hurt. Like, so is Patrick Mahomes. That's true. But what he does, the improvisation that he does, is the best part of what he does, but is not completely to the point where you can't bring somebody else and be effective at what he does. I think Lamar Jackson is such a unique talent that you'd have to build an offense completely around him, and then you'd have to bring in a backup quarterback who plays very much the way that he plays. But it would be a pale comparison. You see what I'm saying? Like even a poor man's like Kirkland brand, Lamar Jackson would still not be a person that could make that offense go because of how special that he is. I think eventually he does get paid. I don't think that's a question about that. But I think he needs professional representation. And I think he needs to stop taking things so personally. People in the media even media personalities, are so in the bag. I mean, they just can't be a professional. I think some of these dudes, especially the dudes at ESPN, at this point, I think they're just getting paid to use their social media for clickbait and to stir up argument. Because like for people that played the game like Ryan Clark and RG3, honestly, I think RG3 is just there for the clown show. I really do. I'd like to think that man is not as dumb as he looks on social media. Just tell him go out there, just go stir stuff, just go throw stuff against the wall, see what sticks. I'd like to think that he's smarter than the way he represents himself. He is one of the reasons why you don't pay people, why you don't pay running quarterbacks. RG3, to say you need to pay that man his money is really hypocritical. Guys like you are the reason why he's not getting paid, because you can't run around as if athleticism is everything at the position of quarterback. I want to see him do well. I want to see him get his money. I always want to see players get their money. But I also understand that this is a business, Baltimore is the type of franchise where they've always drafted well. They've always made pretty good personnel decisions, and they've always been a viable franchise. This move by them does not surprise me that they're going to say, you know what, we're going to let the market dictate. And for his camp, his representation, to see that it's not just us deciding that we don't want to pay you, that it is the entire league telling you we're not going to pay you that. And there's 32 other owners in the league. If somebody else really wants to do it, they will do it. I would not be surprised if that goober over in Las Vegas figures out a way to do it. Or the teams that are looking at him are bad teams. Washington's a bad team. The Texans are a bad team. The Raiders are a bad team. So is it possible? Yeah, a lot of stupid out there. But also think of it this way, man. You're going to go get your money, and you're going to have a miserable life if you have to play for Washington, if you have to play for the Texans, if you have to play for the Raiders. Not going to be a good life. I mean, well, $50 million guaranteed a year, that is a pretty good life. You know what? Forget everything I said. Take it easy, fellas.